Welcome to episode number 5 of the official Layers podcast overlay. I'm the founder of Layers, Liam McCabe.
And I'm a designer and illustrator, Reijo Palmiste.
And just before we get started, if you're looking to support Layers or the Overlay podcast, then you can join Layers Plus today and gain access to additional features such as analytics, scheduling, profile customization, and more. And Overlay listeners also get a 10% discount off the annual plan using the code overlay10. And now on with the episode. And today is a part 2, a continuation of the previous podcast with our guest Tatiana. So in case no one's listened to the previous episode, Tatiana, do you just want to introduce yourself again?
I'm Tatiana O'Toole. I live in South Dublin, Ireland. I work in strategy for companies. My origins start in brand identity and brand-centric illustration, and I advocate strongly for ethics in design and ethical treatment of designers.
Great, yeah. So previously, in the previous episode, we talked a lot about a range of topics. The title I put in design ethics there. I think we touched design ethics in multiple different ways, but overall the topics we discussed range from what did it range from? It ranged from design subscription services to guys
AI.
Of course.
We talked about the fall of Dribble. We talked about things that bother us about Dribble.
Yes.
Did we? I thought that we didn't. That was the point.
Do we want to talk more about it? Because we can keep going. Yeah. And, since then, Dribble's gotten a new CEO.
Indeed.
That is true.
Yes. Zach has stepped down after how many years? I thought I read 7. I can't remember.
A lot.
But yeah, basically, we wanted to bring Tatiana on because we started a conversation with her on the Layers platform, and she was asking a lot of very good questions about Layers and how to maintain the community and try to avoid a lot of the pitfalls and issues that existing design communities such as Dribble has suffered in recent years. And we didn't actually manage to touch on a lot of them. I'm hoping we can do that in this episode. We'll move straight into those. So the first one, I'll posit them as questions, I guess, because that's probably easier. And then you guys can answer, and I can obviously join in as well. So Layers has a direct messaging feature, so you can just message other users for connection purposes, or maybe if you're a client for hiring purposes. And one thing I've always thought about is whether or not there should be a hire button or a message button. So I think it's actually quite divided in the existing platforms, but I'm unsure if there should be one or the other or both. And there's also actually a middle ground, which was having both of the buttons, but clicking hire would open a little modal with all the usual fields that you see. Like project title, budget, timeline, etc. But then it would send it as a message in the messaging service. So like in a pretty card or whatever. And so you're still using the messaging service, but the hired messages are distinguished somehow. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on, because Tatiana, you mentioned in your document, that's basically what we're discussing, that Dribble discouraged direct messaging. Actually, I don't think they really had direct messaging. It was always just hiring people, right?
Yeah, the way you messaged on Dribble, going back deep in my memories here when I first got on there was a lot of times, because I spent a long time reaching out to designers, because I would stumble across stolen work, and I'd take the time to reach out to them and be like, hey, your work's being used here, just so you know, or it's being stolen. And I tried to reach out to them, but Dribble had this really kind of intimidating language around that, where it's basically memory serves, it was essentially if you are messaging this person for any other reason than a legit work inquiry, then your account will come into question, basically. And so for a lot of people did connect through Dribble, but they couldn't continue to connect through Dribble, so they went to like Instagram or Twitter to continue those conversations because those facilitated DMs so much better, especially Instagram. So it's really a question of like what kind of users do you foresee coming to Layers, right? Because you do have your client audience coming in looking to hire designers. You have your designer audience coming in. You have agency audiences coming in. They're not going to be necessarily conducting like, hey, what's up? What are you working on? Like, they're not going to really be sending messages. So it really comes down to how you've outlined your audiences and which ones you prioritize to the top. I certainly would like to see a DM feature installed because it's, I mean, not that it is there, but just the ease of communication between designers is so important, and you see that happen in the background a lot on Instagram and Twitter. But it never really got to take root in Dribble, and I think that was a mistake on their part.
Yeah, and I mean, since a lot of people started using Twitter more for design, I also started using the messaging a lot more, and I was like, oh, it's a shame that this just doesn't really exist. I can't speak for Hans or the others. I'm not sure if they have a messaging system.
They do.
And the way I contacted Reijo was also very informal, and the way we worked together was also very informal. So I was like, this worked perfectly, so I'm going to implement that on Layers. But then I do understand there is a more formal route, and yeah, Layers does have an audience of designers, but also clients and agencies, and I do want all of them to come to Layers because I want people to be hired from Layers and get work from Layers, but also to connect with other designers. So it kind of has to do everything. I'm wondering if like a separate does it need a separate system for messaging and hiring, do you think?
I have lots of opinions, but I don't want to speak over you. Do you have any thoughts? Or are you thinking still?
I feel like this is it's a problem that it sounds simple on the surface, but when you get down into it, it's quite intricate. I feel like my personal experience with DMs on whatever design platforms have been such that they're most, like I would say 95% they're work inquiries, and maybe 5% somebody either asking a question of how did I do something, or what tools am I using, etc., etc. But specifically in Layers case, I feel like people who are who come to join Layers are already connected in some way on other platforms on which they are already using DMs, like Twitter, for example. So, like we connected with Liam over Twitter. I joined Layers, and we continued to speak over Twitter because there was no reason to move that conversation anywhere else other than Discord, of course. But I feel like there's other platforms are doing a lot of the work right now, and I don't know how do you either going to start to fix that, or what the better option for that would be. Having DMs, having a very easy way to DM somebody would be good, but mostly I think people expect clients to DM them, not other designers. But that's just my opinion, I think.
And do you think the DM, the sort of informal messaging approach is fine, works?
I think, as in, like, you can always make it more formal, but it's difficult to make it informal back, I think. So just having a simple way to DM somebody, you don't even need to write a title. Just send them a message. That's it, I think. No need to overcomplicate it, I think.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think that I don't like when people contact me for work over Instagram, because you can unsend messages. I would and it's too informal, and they're often encouraged to be like, hi, how much for a logo? And if I get another one of those messages, I'm going to harm myself or somebody else because it's really exhausting. So I would like some
what's your
structure.
Literally typing it out as we speak.
Blocks.
Easy block.
So, because I find them very informal, and I find them very I've gotten some really good customers. I got Zappos through Instagram, which was very cool. But
wow,
I also got a message.
Crazy.
I got a message once asking, like, they said they would accept nudes and they would feature me. Like, there's this wide discrepancy between those. Yeah. And I would like to point out, just for my own sake, that I had more followers than that page, and they were asking to feature me. And anyway.
Wow. That took some mental gymnastics.
It was exhausting. But anyway, I had a guy reach out to me once on Instagram where he asked if he could purchase a logo that I had made, and I gave him the price, and he said it was too much. And we were like, fine, thank you, that's fine. We don't align. Good luck with your business. He said, good luck. No hard feelings. I found later that he had taken and used my logo anyway, and I had to contact a lawyer and to get it taken down. It was really difficult. But what I found was that because we had carried off that information in DMs where he could have unsent messages, thank God he didn't. He wasn't. I don't know. He might have been a few light bulbs short of the package. It wasn't. I had all the receipts, if you will. I had the DMs and everything.
Yeah.
But it always made me nervous since then to work with clients and carry out conversation in somewhere where you could delete messages. Where in more informal DMs, it would be a higher call to delete messages. So I think that we can only answer based on our own personal experience. I think we're all very social here, and we reach out over DMs, and we can't assume that about the users. So I would say moving forward, Layer's best interest would be to kind of start talking to designers, see how they use DMs. What do they prefer? What do they hate about other DM systems? Like Dribble, in all of its wisdom, lets people choose ASAP for a timeline. What do I do with that? Why? Why would you do that?
I think
if Layers had that, it would have a budget thing, and then the budget would go really high as well.
That's true.
That would be clever. The bigger the budget.
Acceptable.
That would be clever.
If you choose ASAP, it's like 10,000 minimum. Good luck.
Yeah.
But so I think that at the end of the day, we can only answer based on our personal experience with communication. And honestly, the majority of mine, you said the majority of yours were clients. The majority of mine have been other designers on
That's
Instagram.
very interesting.
I've spent a long time connecting and reaching out to designers. So I use that a lot for the reason.
That now makes me think, why am I less approachable?
Well, it's also
why do I have less friends?
It's also making me think, why am I less hireable? So there's two sides to that coin.
You message people, Reijo. You need to be proactive. You can't just wait for them to come.
Fuck. Are you just really thinking about why no one's asked for your nudes in exchange for being shared?
It would be an interesting conversation to have for sure.
So annoying.
You're listening to Reijo right now, or
so annoying is I got that message early in the morning, so I'm half asleep in bed, and I have a message from a rando, and I check it, and it's one of those disappearing messages. And I read it, and I'm so shocked, and then it goes away, and I can't open it again. So I have no proof. I can't screenshot it, and it had to use a peach emoji.
Oh dear.
It was like on a
Amazing.
rainbow gradient background. It was anyway.
Amazing.
But yeah.
But anyway,
Yeah.
Tatiana, you mentioned theft and like stealing designs and messaging people to warn them that their work had been stolen. So there's another thing. Obviously, that's another point, and obviously, where we want to try and discourage that on layers or prevent it if possible. So obviously, there'll be some sort of reporting system and moderation system that's going to be introduced. You'll be able to report people, report designs, etc., report anything that you need for whatever reason. Would that be sufficient? It's probably not sufficient. That's just like the basis. But how do you proactively try and stop and prevent this kind of theft? Is it even possible?
That is really difficult because, I mean, I think we talked about this a little in the last podcast, where the very nature of copyright is kind of a forced construct on like the natural way we share information, right? Because art, design are really predominantly art, especially graphics. Those are it's information you share with another person, and it's human nature to iterate and to build off of that and to take those ideas and to build something more. We're constantly in growth. We're constantly asking and questioning things. And when you apply that to copyrighted materials, it would dictate that, I can take the Mona Lisa and then redraw it as a dachshund with like a gerbil on its lap, like I am expressing my creativity by taking this piece and expressing myself. So I think that it kind of subdues a lot of natural human creativity. However, I protect my art. I need to get paid. I need for scarcity, and I need what I create to remain with me and profiting me. So that's like, first off, just all of that to say, this is hard because it is a broken construct. And it's really hard to navigate all the answers. So we're not going to find an absolute solution. It's going to be flawed. It's going to be problematic. There's a guy I've known for a while. We chat on and off. His name's I'm going to butcher his name. It's Juan Philippe. He's a wonderful, fantastic guy.
I know his work.
Yeah. He's on Layers. I saw him on there, and we were chatting a little bit. And I sent him my dribble document that I wrote about all the issues, and he was like, "This is it." He brought up a solution that I thought was fascinating. I'm not going to credit this as my idea; it was his idea. Where he said you could, for art that becomes subject to like copyright, like is this their work? Did they copy? Put it through like a gauntlet where the users decide what it was and who posted first and who has right. I have
That sounds. Go ahead.
What, so showing the original and then a slightly altered original and giving the users try to figure out the original?
I want to try to like represent this best as possible and I may not be representing it the way he wanted it to, but essentially like spam posts, copyright infringement, any sort of material that needs to be reporting, it goes through a community vetting process where they vote and be like, yes, this is spam. Yes, this is so that kind of a thing, and the same for copyright. However, I have been stolen from, and I had some little fucking pipsqueak come up to me and be like, you are being way too sensitive. Anyone can draw a cabin. How do you know it's your cabin? And oh my God, I could have like, oh my God, this guy. I got so angry at him because essentially this woman had taken mine and I think it was Matt Carlson's work and like merged them together, but she had flipped my cabin that I had illustrated. And I could see it because my cabin, I don't have children, I have art, and I know them down to their very pixel. And it's it infuriated me. So I would hate that designers who know that their work's been stolen face abuse from a community that can't see it. So that would be my concern with that, but I don't think it's necessarily bad to rely on your community for that and kind of encouraging them to join in. I'm just hoping it doesn't start a witch hunt or misplace some anger.
Yeah. I feel like Go ahead.
Go on, Ralph.
I feel like every time I've had this happen to me as well, and I take great solace in the notion that every time it has happened, somebody else has pointed it out to me. They've reached out to me and they've been like, "Hey, this looks fucking familiar to me. Like, is it yours?" And turns out, yeah, of course, it was either directly they were just taking the asset, or it was like remade in a very, very, very similar fashion. So there's a community aspect to it, and that I think can be leveraged, but it won't work out in every case. What I think
I wonder.
would be the simplest thing, because I don't think this can be avoided, and whatever can be done is only going to be reactive, not proactive. So the simplest way to report a post for either stolen assets or stolen IP or reporting just the spam, as simple as possible, I think would be a good start.
Yeah, you mentioned reactive. I was thinking, yeah, could you do it before? And I guess that you could, technically speaking. Well, I don't know how
It's
quickly you could do it, but you could check Layer's database if the image already exists or a similar image percentage-wise, and you could add
yes.
like a little checkbox that says, are you sure this is your work? If it's not your work, you may be subject to blah 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 blah. So that potentially could dissuade people.
But I feel like that's an invitation to an arms race, and you will always lose. Like, the human ingenuity to steal stuff will always win. I don't think there's a way around it.
That's the spirit.
Were you guys aware of when Ivan, I'm going to butcher his last name, Ivan Bobrov, but he's a logo designer. He did a Lightrix logos with like the owl, and he's an absolutely wonderful identity designer.
Okay.
His logo he did for a small, I believe it was Russian town, was stolen and used by the Dominican Republic. The country, the Dominican Republic, not
Damn.
that Dominican
it's a
Republic.
great anecdote. I'd like to say that.
Yeah, it's a great anecdote,
yeah,
right?
A country stole my logo.
Yeah.
It was really such a fascinating story, because Ivan obviously is not paying attention to the Dominican Republic, but designers in the Dominican Republic knew of Ivan's work, and they saw this and they reached out to him and they were like, "Hi, my country has stolen your logo.
Yeah.
Do you want to do something about it?" And then it became this huge uproar, because obviously it's very scandalous if an entire country steals a logo from somebody. And what had happened was they had hired, I believe, a studio out of Mexico, who then contracted the logo design work out to some freelancers. I could be getting this wrong, but I understand that was kind of the relationship. And so they were so hands off from it that a couple of things happened there. Well, obviously embarrassed the Dominican Republic. It embarrassed the government. The studio was finished. Like, that was like a death blow to their studio. They did a logo for a country and it was stolen. I don't know what happened to the contractors, but it was really interesting hearing from Ivan throughout the whole process of like how sweet and everyone was about it. And he was actually so kind-hearted, because Ivan is a fantastic human being. He actually ended up doing a logo in his free time for the Dominican Republic out of love for the people that reached out to him. But it was a fascinating story.
It feels like there is no solution or even a methodology at this stage. So maybe it's a case of how it's handled after the fact, and like at scale. You're probably going to get a lot of messages on social media like, "Oh, Layer sucks. Look at all these designs. They've been stolen by my profile." So is it just a case of trying to react to those as quick as possible, I guess?
I don't know, man. That's hard. That sounds like a you
like,
problem, not a me problem.
yeah, right,
It's a
right.
community problem, Tatiana.
Oh, yeah, now you want to talk community.
I think there's two. Two definite things that Dribble has done wrong that anger both the person who was stolen from and offend the community at the same time, which was restricting giving an option to restrict feedback or restrict comments. That's an easy no. And two, making the reporting system incredibly convoluted as much as possible and incredibly inefficient at the same time. Just streamlining.
Devil's advocate. I imagine the reporting system is also another thing that can be completely gamed and brutalized.
100%. It can. 100%. So
you
everything.
See that with YouTube all the time.
Yeah. So you cannot trust like a machine to make the decision. Somebody has to sit there and like evaluate the data and say yes, no, yes, no.
And you're volunteering, Ro. Oh, cheers.
No, I'm not.
But I am pointing out that somebody should.
Well, I mean, hang on. How much does that job pay? Because I could just sit on my ass all day drinking wine and doing whatever and just seeing like, yep, that's stolen. Nope, that's not. Like, let's talk.
I'd imagine not a lot, Tatiana. I'd imagine
like
not
a warm handshake, I think, at this point. But maybe more at a later date.
Okay.
warm handshake.
One thing I think is really important is that the language around filing a DMCA, right, and asking for a takedown due to copyright is so intimidating and scary for people.
Yeah.
And they're already in a very emotional state because it is very emotionally violating to be stolen from. You put a lot of hard work into something. Your livelihood isn't always stable. It's a labor of love. We're not in it for extreme amounts of money, right? And some dickhead somewhere in the world just decided to trace your thing, flip it, change the colors, and then sell it. And it's very violating. And I think that there needs to be more care to the user at that point when it comes to reporting, because they're 100%. In an emotional state. And legal text is not fun for anyone. But I think especially 100%. Designers, because we're abstract thinkers, and you have to like in such a concrete way of speaking that they just like, have you ever tried to read your own contract? You fall into depression. Like, it's very rough trying to imagine that. But so when you're in an emotional state, your work's been stolen, you go to file a report and you're just like, oh, I have to do a DMC. What? Like, I don't know what the hell that is. Like, I can get sued if I'm wrong. Like, okay, it's I think that system could be a little more streamlined.
For sure.
I've never actually filed a DMCA, and I wonder why they can't just be generated. I mean, it sounds like if they're asking you to fill one in, they're just trying to dissuade you for even doing it, right? They don't necessarily believe you. Oh, really?
Oh God, it's so much fun. I live for it. Are you kidding me? Oh my God. It got to the point where Instagram just like, I used to wait a couple of days. It was instant. That it got taken down. Like, I could be like, take that down, and they'd be like, okay.
Nice. That's a good working relationship.
Oh God, I have qualms with Instagram. I got banned from Instagram because I used a laptop and a phone at the same time. I had I had around 13,000 followers at the time, and all of a sudden I was banned. Couldn't use it. I was in Ireland too, so like I'm pretty sure their jankety ass like system like is just like, oh, this is clearly a hack.
Suspicious activity.
What? The deeper question here is, why are you using both at the same time? Like, that's a higher level of addiction.
Oh shit! Yeah. I was coming out of the pandemic. Why did you guys cope? I'm sorry. I couldn't touch another human for like a year, and like I went on Instagram on my desktop and phone. You might have had your families. I didn't have anyone. I didn't have a pet.
That's what
Yeah,
I
okay,
got. A pet.
yeah, yeah. Same. True.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I did.
My rent would have gone up if I got a pet. But anyway, the only way I got back out of being unbanned was I knew the senior product designer at Facebook. And so I just
Nice.
messaged him and was like, hey, can you unban me? And they have an
Yeah.
internal system where they can fast track unbanning people. And I was able to get unbanned through his endeavors. And then I got banned again. And then he had to unban me again. There is something broken. I don't use Instagram on desktop anymore. I'm too scared.
So there's like an automatic system that sort of saw something pop up and then it just whacked it immediately without questioning.
Mate, yeah, these systems are flipping huge. They're trying to combat spam and hackers, right?
Yeah, I imagine
they're
so.
vast. They have to try and detect.
But
Like,
banning an account,
90% of the time, they might actually prevent a lot of bad shit, right? And like 10% of the time, 10% of the time, it goes wrong.
Yeah, but if you have an account with a not an insignificant following, like over 10K, that sort of should signal something like a higher level of, not higher level of care from a machine. I don't know what that means, but you know that there's more checks in place to make sure you don't get screwed. I don't know,
but maybe banning is just a way of. I don't know why I'm defending them, but maybe banning is just a way to deactivate the account so that the account is somewhat safe and can't be continue to maliciously be used, you know?
Liam living long enough to see himself change from the hero to the villain right now in real time.
It's gonna happen, right?
I heard of when I got banned, I went on like a tirade to find out other people who had gotten banned and how they got out of it. The process was insane. Like, I had to find a form to fill out and it was impossible to find. But when you did find it, if you entered the information too fast, a window would pop up saying like you're behaving in a hazardous manner. And if you continue, will be permanently blocked from. I have screenshots. I have the receipts. It was insane.
Oh, that's funny.
Okay. So I had to email I sent out the form. I got an email back that said I had to take a photo of myself holding up a hand-drawn note with a number on it, and they would get back to me. And I did that. It was like, I don't know what's going on. And then I got an email back. It wasn't in English, but it was a response. It was in fucking French or like German or something. And like, I still didn't get unbanned, and it was like I went on YouTube and it because like find other people had experienced this, and it was like there was like a PhD student who had got banned for no reason, and she had gone through the same thing. Like, her email was in German, like it was ridiculous. And like, I heard stories about there was a guy who ran a Kanye West fan account, and it was so big that Kanye actually followed him. He got banned, and he was never able to recover his account. Like, and Meta's just like, if you play now, they're like, well, it wasn't then, but now they're like, if you pay for a blue check mark, you get customer service. And it's like, what?
Wow.
Oh God, that awoke some deep past trauma. I'm sorry, I had to get that out. That was horrible.
In the trenches.
Anyway, you're both making it impossible to segue, but previously.
Okay.
You mentioned audiences. It's all right. I got this.
Okay.
You mentioned audiences. We'll move on from the messaging.
Right.
And obviously, there's multiple audiences.
Yeah.
Yes.
Designers might be more interested to share work in progress because they want feedback, and I don't think they necessarily are. But clients don't really care for work in progress work. They want to see the best stuff. Is it possible to have both on the platform? And currently how Leia's, I'd say tackling this, it's done very little, but it basically puts all the work in progress posts in its own little hub, and the main feeds, if you will, trending recent, the completed works. So is having a hub enough for designers? Like, do designers share a lot of work in progress work? Should we be encouraging it? Should we be leaving a lot more feedback? Thoughts?
Do you want
Go
to
ahead,
start or shall
Tatiana.
I? Well, I think it's imperative to show the process personally. It's, part of being human. It's part of the process. I think one of the most beautiful things about being in a creative field is understanding the creative process and how that applies personally to your life. You are an unfinished work. You keep going, you keep trying, you keep reiterating, you keep building, and cutting that out of the creative process really kind of I feel like not only do other designers need to see it, but I feel like clients need to see it as well. I understand that there's a lot of context that needs to be added to it. When like Dribble was meant to be something where you passed work back and forth between designers, but it was for kind of this walled garden, right? Where all these
Mm,
people had all the benefits of being in this community and people could only really
mm,
watch what happened on the inside. And as a result, there was a lot of things driving that, right? The audience shift of people potentially
yeah,
seeing your profile, and they would
yeah,
judge whether or not they'd hire you based on the quality of your work. But I think there was also like, trying to fit in with the Dribble elitism, right? You wanted to be one of the design celebs, and how could you possibly even touch a fraction of their talent if you're posting pencil sketches that look like a small child who got
yeah.
into their mom's wine, drank them, like it, I mean, drew them. It's uh, there's a lot going on there, and I think it really does speak to the nature of our society where we are scared to show our inward self. We're scared to show the wrong parts of ourselves. We're scared of being wrong. We're scared of saying I don't know. Um, so in that, I will say, I don't know. I would really like to see works in progress. I think that potentially with the proper labeling, or I see you have a whip feed. I didn't know how you get on the whip feed. Is it just search or scan for whip anywhere in the description or tag, or how does that work?
I believe it says on the page. Layers tagged.
Okay, work community,
Layers
Liam.
tagged with work in progress will only appear here and under following. So it basically, if it's tagged with work in progress, which a lot of the times I don't think people realize, but they don't seem to complain
Oh,
about it. So they must know that it's going in on that page and not the recent feed.
well,
Actually, people are still commenting. Seems like people actually use it and they understand it.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but these don't really look like whips, or am I just uh missing something?
Well, I don't know. One person's whip is another person's finished product.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
That's
fair.
like,
Wisdom.
yeah, like I think it's a very, valuable section to have for people who want to share like very raw cuts of what they're making right now. But I feel like it's incredibly individualistic and personal. Having like for me personally, I'm not gonna share anything work in progress. I'm also not interested in seeing others work in progress. I'm not interested in how the sausage is made. Like I want to have that mystery. I want to sort of think about it myself, figure it out if I want to. I'm not interested in getting the answer for it. But that's my
I
thing.
mean, looking at the layers work in progress feed, yeah, like you say, Tatiana, a lot of these aren't work in progress at all, are they? So, which suggests it would require even more moderation to ensure that it's work in progress. And
Well, here's a good question, right? So I don't know. Yeah, I was gonna ask, would it be beneficial? Would it be beneficial if the design slip shared whips? I think that a lot of people do appreciate works in progress. I mean, I personally love pencil sketches because I feel there's so much more raw emotion in pencil sketches than the final
For sure.
product. So
For sure.
I love those, and I think that it tells a lot more of the story and the intention. When I was working, kind of strategizing with some people about starting a dribble alternative way back, um, one of the things we did talk about a lot was whip and feedback. Like, how do you facilitate that? Bubble House. Have you ever heard of Bubble House?
No.
Nope.
Bubble House was a app that came up, I think, during the pandemic. It kind of devolved into this NFT selling marketplace, which was really unfortunate. But they had a option to upload the art in different stages, and you had a slider that went across that showed it. It was fascinating. It was wonderful. I probably have a video of it somewhere if you guys want to see it in action. But it was brilliant. And I thought that was such a wonderful thing, because not only would it demonstrate to clients what processes look like, right? Because how many times I've sent this goddamn picture of an octopus to a client to explain the difference between thumbnail, rough sketch, final sketch, color work, and texture. I'm over it. It would be so great if they could actually physically see that. And I do keep copies of those things. And it would be very beneficial for me. Plus, I am all for the education in the next generation of designers, and so many of them are browsing our portfolios with a sense of awe and terror that they're overwhelmed. Like, how am I going to get to be this way? I'm struggling to pay off my debt. AI is going to take my job. What am I doing? And it's just kind of nice to be able to hand them a little bit of a bone and be like, hey, here's my shitty pencil sketches that I really love, and it's okay if you draw something like this, because iterate enough and you'll get to where you need to be. I think there's a really important role in that. So
I agree with that.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's more of an issue of how do you encourage people to share work in progress? How do you I try and tell them that it's not all about the finished product. It's not about the pixel perfection or whatever. Like, sharing work in progress isn't about sharing it necessarily for yourself, but for everyone else on the platform, and them asking you questions about how did you end up with this result?
Yeah.
Like, what's your process? But yeah, it does require a lot more effort to an extent, and engagement with the platform. Maybe.
I think the nature of the people posting as well, like a lot of designers are struggling right now. It is a very difficult time for design. A lot of illustrators are having a hard time finding work. It is tight and scary right now. And for a lot of people who have families to support while freelancing, it's a do or die. So a lot of times they don't have time to post whips. They don't have time to look at other people's whips. They don't have time to get feedback. They don't have time to network outside of will it get them a job. And so I think I do see a lot of that on a lot of platforms, including Layers. A lot of people looking for work and desperately needing it. And I think that when you reach an area where people are no longer struggling to survive, and when they have survival and they're coming up to thriving, or they are thriving, I think that offers a lot more space for reflection and deep thinking. And I'm not sure that we have that right now. And I don't know if it's one of those chicken and egg things where it's like, to get back to that, you need to reintroduce concepts like whip, conversation, discussion, banding together. I don't know. Sorry, go on.
But I feel like it's very... It's... The biggest value it will offer is education, right? To both to the client and both to younger members of the community, or of less experience, I think. And that's incredibly valuable. But to make that decision to say, hey, this is my messable process, like this is how I do things, that I feel like inevitably puts the person who shares it, puts, I don't know how to say this, like a pressure, or a sort of like a, now they're being in a position where they're a teacher almost, or they're sharing how this is. They're not, they might not even literally say like this is how it needs to be done. They say this is how I do it, and then the logical jump to this is how it should be done is very simple to make, whereas that's not how they wanted to present it. They just want to say this is how I do it, and this is not necessarily the most right way to do it, but this is how I do it. And to avoid all of that, they just won't post it, which is the much more simpler way to go.
Yes, it does seem.
It's
Very plausible.
Also really funny is that meanwhile, Instagram has encouraged artists to very much show their process because they've encouraged reels. And one of the only ways that static designers, people who don't animate, can really share their work is showing the process by which they make their work. So it's kind of this obtuse way to getting whipped back into the thing. But at the same time, it's also, artists hate it. I'm not gonna lie, illustrators hate recording their process. Like, it's hard enough to get motivated enough to create art, and now I gotta set up a camera, and then I gotta add a soundtrack to it, and I gotta edit. Fuck, I'm so tired.
All I heard was layers needs reels. Is that right?
You need an app first, then you can talk about reels. Let's temper the expectations.
When every platform was adding stories to their app, and Behance did it as well, but they're still there, so they must be decent.
LinkedIn
I will
did
say
it as
that
well.
I really love my stories. I rarely post on Instagram anymore, but I connect with everyone on stories. I post things that I'm working on, what I'm reading, I normally post a daily office view with the song I'm listening to, and I try to share artists that deserve more eyes on their work in my story. So I really love stories, honestly, even though for a time it was the thing to be like, they stole it from Snapchat. Everyone wants to be Snapchat.
Yeah, and they stole reels from TikTok. So that's how they operate.
Yes. Thefting is the way forward. Originality is dead.
Yeah. That.
See, that's a whole copyright thing, right? We just iterate on on ideas, so we keep going further and further.
Yeah. Yeah. But for work in progress, let's say we want to encourage feedback, but how do you encourage feedback but also prevent people from just leaving shitty, non-useful comments? And I guess this also applies to the whole platform. Obviously,
have they been leaving shitty comments?
Nice colors. Nice colors.
Subjective.
Love it.
But yeah, I think we talked about it in the last podcast. Like sometimes a like isn't enough. You want to say love it, or you want to say, "Oh, this looks really great." Blah 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 blah. So it can be legitimate, but I've often found if you leave 10 of them or multiple of them in a period of time, then it soon becomes spammy.
That's true.
And obviously, there is an inkling for specific types of people to leave comments just so it puts their link, their username on that layer. So potentially someone might click through. So is there a way we can discourage such quote unquote spammy comments if you can determine
what you
when
can
they're
do?
spammy?
Yeah, and this is I think a borderline stupid idea, but I think it would be an interesting solution.
I love stupid ideas.
Is to we know we can sort out the top, let's say 25 most spammiest comments that people leave. Nice, cool, very nice colors. You can make the comment box understand when such a comment is being written, and then it pops up a little tag that says, "For fuck's sake, you're a creative person, you can do better than this."
Oh, mate.
Believe in yourself for a minute. You can do better than this.
Believe in yourself. I think that's the winner right there.
And
mate,
you can still leave that comment. You can still leave that comment, but then you will be sort of.
You can still leave it, surely not.
Yeah,
no, you would
really.
No.
The little comment get a little dunce hat on it, where it's you answer it's a really
a little clown emoji.
Yes. Oh my god. Because I'm on layers right now, and I'm looking through the comments, and they're just they're interesting. The kind of the spammy comments I'm getting. All right, so how to end spam comments? I guess you have to look at why people are leaving them in the first place, right? To link them back to their profile so they get more sites on their own work, and then so it's really based on the concept that more followers equals more chance at getting hired for projects, so they're financially motivated to leave these comments. And even further back, they're surviving by leaving these comments, by making sure that they stay relevant. A lot of them are getting their egos fed off this as well, because a lot of designers want to be a celebrity designer. They want to be the guru, one that people go to. That's why there's so many goddamn idiots saying telling you this is how you design a logo. I don't we get it. The logo has to be scalable.
3 new colors you must use in your next design.
Kill me. I don't want to know. I'm so over it.
Honestly.
But I think that there's that is a problem that originates from outside of a system that you can control. So it's really a matter of how do you change the tone within layers, and can you do that? Because people are coming to your site for money. They're not coming to the site right now. Well, they may be coming to the site for community, but at the end of the day, people want to get paid. Like Reijo said, 95% of his messages are work. He wants to get paid. He doesn't want to see whips. He wants to get paid. How do you address that?
Straight to
and
the
I
point.
think that I think that designers are in a state of survival right now, and I don't think that they can really pull out of it, which I think begs the question of how do we protect designers then?
What is a non-survival state in your opinion?
Non-survival state? I mean, not having to worry about I think living paycheck to paycheck is just barely surviving, right?
Do you think that's possible even?
How do you mean? Sorry. What?
For the design community at whole. I understand your opinion is that we're sort of in a survival state, or it feels like things are just going downhill, right? Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
What do you?
Yeah, that's a broad statement, but I do believe that a lot of designers are feeling. Sorry, I work a lot in broad statements because
doing
I'm
really well.
fast.
He's being polite.
I'm trying to understand.
I've got loads.
I'm trying to understand. I think I have a gathering of what you think about how things are now, but I want to understand what do you feel like we should get to? How does the world then look like for designers?
That's a good question. It's one of those things where it's I don't know what it is, but I know this ain't it. It's not great here.
That's true.
I know that a lot of people kind of resort to being design puppets for their clients, and it's exhausting. It's demoralizing. They're very tired of not being able to be.
Yes, I agree with you. But I also what I realized over a past year, I think, is that people have a lot of very I don't want to say the word inflammatory, but people have a lot of strong opinions about design. But the disconnect between the opinions starts from the fact that people treat design in their lives in varyingly different ways. What design to some people is just a way to feel feel better than others. Just I'm a better designer than X, Y, or Z. For some, it's just a 9-to-5 job. For some, it's just a creative outlet that they happen to get paid for. There's such a huge variance in personal commitment to the design, and through that the opinions vary as much as well. I think that's partially why the design subscriptions are as sort of polarizing as they are, because some people literally treat it like a very simple I have a shovel here, I need a hole here, please let's dig the hole kind of a job, which is not I don't think there's anything wrong with that per se, if that's the connection you want to have, and if you're great at it, more power to you. But there are other people who feel fuck, he's doing that, and that's absolutely depressing to me, which means he's wrong, which I don't think is the case. I think design has room for everybody to find where their power is. I had a point too, but I don't know where I wanted to go with that. I'm sorry, I forgot.
No, they're all valid points.
We were talking about stopping people. Sorry, go on. We were talking about stopping people from leaving shit comments. And that's where we're. Does that help you?
Not significantly.
No, it was.
Maybe it'll come back to me later.
It was more than that. It was more than that. I guess in any market there are going to be some people that are struggling. There are going to be some people that are doing okay, and there are going to be some people that are doing well and better than most. And maybe it's a minority, but yeah, like a community such as Layers kind of doesn't have to appeal to all of these people, but it should maybe try to. But yeah, how you make that fair is the wrong word, appropriate, or manage to meet each use case. I mean, there's so many different use cases. If you really think about it, it's hard to find a middle ground to everything.
That's true.
To Reijo's point, when I struggle to think about the design as a whole, how it works, how it should work, I have to remind myself that I'm working in an abstract space, and we don't really prioritize education and how to think in abstract spaces, right? We're very well versed in working in the physical space. If I grab this glass and throw it and smash it, then I have to pick up all the broken pieces. In a abstract space, I can mentally throw this glass and break it, but I don't have to pick up the pieces that fall on the ground.
100%.
Right?
100%.
So we're very detached from the consequences of our actions in abstract spaces. And so design, when you are hired by a company to create a design and they want to forego any sort of user research because they claim to understand their user, we don't feel the consequences of that because it's in an abstract space, and if there are any physical consequences of it, we won't witness them because it's far away, because the digital space can reach a lot of different places. So yes. I would argue, and this is something I'm working on right now, I'm trying to avoid talking about it because I'm currently obsessed with it, but I'm arguing the point for as much as architects and building creators, builders are responsible for safety evaluations and standards in buildings.
Yeah,
we should be doing that with design. And I think that people try, but at the same time, it's like it's not always financially beneficial to be ethical and follow guidelines like that.
I would argue it's never financially beneficial.
Okay, yeah, go extreme. I'm fine with that.
Does that make sense? I feel like it's that's the thing I'm majority of the cases.
The thing I'm writing is literally called design. What is it? Design ethics and the impact of capitalism. So please join me in my extremism. But But essentially, like, we don't connect those consequences with our actions, so we think that it's fine doing that. But in reality, so many bad design decisions ruin people's lives, like
that's
constantly.
Yes, I think with that the problem is the barrier of entry. You can essentially get Figma for free, and you can if you put your mind to it, you can get a job next week as a designer of some sort. It is within the realm of possibility. As an architect, it's like learning to become a doctor. That takes a lot of funding, and that takes years of effort. So that sort of supports the regulations, I think, that are in place. Whereas when you essentially have a increasingly large free-for-all that's happening in digital design or in design in general, it's going to be very difficult to regulate this, because this is essentially the Wild West. You can do what you want, like this, but you can always count on the better product will survive more likely. It's more likely that the better product will survive but that doesn't necessarily mean that the better product is better designed. It just does the thing it's supposed to for the business better. That doesn't mean that the user will find it better, I think.
Okay. Sorry. Better is a very subjective term. And I thought for a second you
Correct.
meant better designed. Yes.
Correct. It
You
doesn't
mean-
mean that it's better designed. It just serves the purpose better.
So you basically mean that the most financially viable product is most likely the one that will survive versus the one that meets its users' needs the most.
I think there's always the what as digital products are doing are striking the balance between this is a good decision for the business, this is a bad decision for the user, and they're sort of riding the wave of like, okay, this is a good decision for the user, let's do this. We'll lose a little bit of money on that, but we'll make it up later. I think that's
The trolley problem.
yeah. So but design doesn't necessarily even have to enter that conversation. That's just that's like a tactics and strategy kind of a thing.
Well, I argue that strategy is imperative for any sort of design, because if you don't understand what you're building and why, then how do you know if you've successfully built the thing?
For sure. Like, I think you either the strategy
is
is written,
success?
the strategy is written, or like beforehand, or you write the strategy as you do it. One way or the other, it's gonna happen, but you get to choose. I think.
That Liam, what did you say there? I'm so sorry.
Sorry, I was just stirring the pot. I was going to say, is layers a success?
I mean,
So far, yes.
you haven't died. Like, I think
That's
that's
true.
really successful, Liam.
Yeah, that's true. And
You
the site
haven't
is still online.
died.
He's
You
saying
haven't
my
killed
life
anyone.
is dependent on layers.
Yes.
No, I mean,
Yes.
like,
But
I mean,
to
what's
be
your
real,
definition of success?
Oh god, if layers fails, I'm going to be very worried.
how long do you think layers will stay operational if you die tomorrow?
I die tomorrow.
So mean.
I don't know. I think AWS turns it off after like 2 months. You haven't paid your bills. 2 months.
But if the bills are paid, then it's sort of it keeps on trucking.
Actually, my partner might take over. She'd be like, "Oh, got to keep this going."
It goes in the will, yeah.
I'd have to write a will. Christ.
If
I'm
you
not that
don't,
prepared.
You haven't written a will?
I recently found out that if you don't write a will for IP, King gets half of your shit over in the UK. Is that true?
Yes. I don't know.
Motherfucker.
I mean, I love the Royals. I'm sure they'll do a bang up job.
That is the correct opinion. I applaud you.
Yeah. They'll ban all the foreigners. It'll be fine.
God,
Wait a minute.
I almost made a joke about Kate Middleton and her Photoshop skills on layers, but I remember there was horrible news about that we just
Oh,
yes, there were reasons for that.
yes.
I only now connected the dots.
And when does this recording go out, Tatiana? What are you saying? Who knows where she'll be?
Oh God, that's horrible. But okay, so back layers.
Yeah.
What was our question? What were we initially?
Well,
okay, we were talking about
deviated spectacularly, like in a spectacular fashion. But I can segue to something.
Hang on, there was like a really important point there. Okay, we were talking about whip.
Yes.
That was half an hour ago.
Poor quality comments. Yeah.
The last thing we were talking about was poor quality comments.
Oh, we were talking about the ethical obligation of a designer to basically kind of guide the client or to let the client guide them, essentially.
Yes.
And I'm arguing that design needs to step up more and put their foot down more and be like, no, that's unethical. No, that is yes, that is ethical. Like we need to come together, because what we do is in a very abstract space most of the time, and we don't recognize how that impacts people. And it has very problematic results.
Yes, but it's also it's a difficult decision to make when they're paying, they're calling the shots. So people of various levels of experience, I think, will find it hard to say, no, this is a stupid idea. We should do X, Y, or Z. Or I think this is a skill of communication that needs to be learned in somehow. But you have to be even interested in learning this skill of negotiating and communicating, or understanding that maybe I should say no, or maybe should I, suggest to them a more ethically appropriate solution.
Speaking of community here, can I try a segue?
Please. It's already great so far.
The bar is very high, I recognize. So, speaking of community, how do we handle such a large community that spans internationally and has different markets, different costs of living? How does that impact pricing on layers? It's certainly impacted a bit of pricing on Dribble, from my opinion. I think that at the end of the day, it's really important to recognize that this is a problem that doesn't exist because of layers. It exists outside of layers, and it's due to capitalism and the inequality in the world. How do you write that as a platform, Liam? Solve the problem.
I've got another question. Should you have it's similar, but should you have general salaries across the world, or should they be location dependent? I guess this applies to a lot of digital roles, maybe not graphic design roles per se, but things that can be done remotely. Well, graphic design can be done remotely.
I think it's definitely good for you to understand what people in remote roles are being paid for this job that you are doing. That doesn't speak to your level of skill or experience, but I think it would be good for you to understand at least like what the ballpark is. That's a good starting point. Whether you can negotiate to that's on your own. That's up to you.
As in from the employee side?
Yeah.
Or the contractor?
Yeah. Or whether you want to. That's a question altogether, I think, as well.
So it's not unfair that someone in India or South Africa is earning twice or three times less than someone in San Francisco for the same job.
No, I think it is. I think it's globally unfair. Because then you're literally comparing numbers. Like one is a much bigger number than the other. Sounds pretty unfair to me. But when you niche it down to like, okay, what's the situation in South Africa? Like, when you reduce the sort of, I don't have a vocabulary good enough to explain this, I think, but what I'm trying to get at is, does the pay that is being provided to, let's say, a South African person equate to as much purchasing power as a person in San Francisco with a substantially larger pay?
I think that that's a really hard topic to talk about because you're talking about different costs of living, and a lot of times this can be it really sucks that a designer in New York City is on the same platform that somebody can like charge half of what they need to charge and still make more than anyone around them where they're currently living.
That's true. That's true.
It pulls down the cost that designer in New York City can charge, but it also pulls up what the other person can charge. There are some positives to it for sure. It's just a matter of where do you find the equilibrium? Do you think clients from both locations could come to the same place? And that sucks from that end too. Like you have a client from let's say South Africa, that has a smaller budget than someone who is living in New York City, and they're coming here and like, I need a logo design. And hell yeah, they need a logo design. And they go and contact a logo designer and they're like, $50,000. And the guy's like, excuse you? I can't afford that. So I don't know. It is really difficult because you're having a global market meet unfiltered against each other. And there's not a great solution. And I wish there was so badly for both sides.
Yeah. Those like to be honest, I like one of the reasons I have liked Dribble for a long time was the remote first or the remote only approach to actually how they run their own business. They did it before like the pandemic happened. They're one of the companies who had the strong remote culture beforehand, and I think that from a very early on put my sights on, okay, this is what I want to do. Like, I don't want to move. I don't want to go to fucking San Francisco. I want to stay where I am, but I want to work in a global team. Like, I want to work with people all around the world. And I think that was important. Money didn't even enter the conversation for me for a long time. I just wanted to work like on a remote team with a lot of people from a lot of different cultures, a lot of different backgrounds. That was the thing I wanted to do, and that's the thing I still want to do. But money always complicates the conversation in some sense. It may or it may not.
To me, it sounds like it's more just of an awareness issue.
Yes,
it's like making it clear that this person is coming from a location. I mean, like anything, it requires more data from the user. You need to know where they are to implement this. But it's like this person comes from a location where the cost of living is a percentage difference from where you are currently living.
Yeah.
And this is why their budget is X. You can choose to reduce your rate for this location or pass. It's up to you.
I feel like this is a topic that somebody who's been in design for like at least 30 years will have a good take on it. I've only been here for such a short time. I feel that I'm not experienced enough in how
Just
the culture
29
has
years.
changed. How the culture has changed from the 90s to now, because there's been several significant shifts. And also in the worth that not only that we're more globalized, there's more remote opportunities, but also design is being constantly valued either more or less.
Also, the trouble is you can't reach a middle ground because people on the upper tier will be missing out. So you can't just be like, this is the design currency or the layers currency or whatever.
Yeah.
This is how much rates are depending on skills, experience, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. But the solution is to create your own crypto, and everyone gets paid in layers crypto, obviously. That is
I've actually
you look so dead inside when I'm saying that right now.
I've actually thought about that for crowdfunding.
Oh God.
Fuck it. Fuck it.
Layers coin.
Like I have a lot of clients in crypto, and like every time I have a new client in crypto or a new project in crypto, I'm constantly reminded of how little I understand how that sphere of technology works at all, and how they find their like little niches how to make money. It feels like a completely separate world that doesn't exist, like operates on its own rules basically.
Well, they're just creating it, right? They're making it out of nothing.
Yeah, it's the Wild West, right? So
Have you do you guys like little video editorials, like little video essays on topics.
Oh, I love them.
Okay. Have you watched Folding Ideas?
I know the channel.
You
I know
watched
the
his
channel,
thing?
but I don't think so.
It's fantastic. It's about 3 hours long,
Yeah?
and I think I've watched it about 4 times. It's so good.
Oh, nice. Nice.
It's God, what is it called? The line goes up. And it equates the rise of NFTs and crypto
Mhm,
with the housing market bubble of 2008. I highly recommend it. I
Okay.
think he's a brilliant human. I absolutely love his video essays, especially that one. He also did one on toxic masculinity and Fight Club that is absolutely fantastic.
Ooh.
I highly recommend that one as well. But the NFT one is very good. And I'm not, in light of, making sure this is an inclusive space, I'm not going to say what I really think of crypto and NFTs, but
Well, is it
what a
an
cop
inclusive
out.
space then?
Boo.
Because you're excluding yourself from it.
I have an NFT. If y'all want to buy it, it's on Foundation. If you buy it, it is a scam. You are buying the concept of a JPEG, but you will give me money and I will be happy. So if anyone wants to buy my NFT, it's of my Black Widow spider and it's on Foundation. I have a 4-letter username that surely is valuable.
To some people, I think just supporting the artist, that's already enough. They can get something back from it. I think that's a bonus.
Mm-hmm.
And also money laundering, but also that's a separate topic.
Yes. It's interesting still seeing designs with NFTs and them showing up on layers. It was like I thought the gig was up. I thought we were done with this. Maybe I missed something. Maybe there's something there.
This is exactly what I feel all the time. Is that I
Is
thought
that
that it was
all
up,
work?
but it was. There's so much money still going around. I think in coins and in crypto in general, that unless the money is somehow siphoned out of it finally through a massive rug, I don't think it's gonna go anywhere either.
I have like a really fucked up story, and like, can I just
Please
say,
do.
like, if you want to cut right here, like,
This has already reached my editing limit of none.
None.
it's
Yeah.
okay, you got one.
But go
Yeah.
ahead.
The only person to have sent me an unsolicited dick pic is the only person I know now who is still into crypto and NFTs.
There's no correlation.
That's like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Strictly a coincidence.
Coincidence? I think not. No, it's like he was a buddy of mine. It was
Yeah, and his bio reads entrepreneur. That's the thing that's still missing, right?
Oh,
so
he said it was over Snapchat, and he put like the text that comes across in the line. It just said vibes over.
Oh man, he
What
sounds
is
so
our
fucking vibes.
I'm so mad. Like, what the fuck are you doing? He's like, sorry, dude, I'm so high right now. I'm like, what the fuck? But we got into it on Facebook about NFTs, and I was like, it's buddy, just so you know, like it's a scam. Just letting you know. He's like, I see, that's where you're wrong, and a lot of people don't understand NFTs. And I was like, great, I'm gonna get mansplained. This is what it feels like to be mansplained. I'm so excited for this. That someone's going to explain NFTs to me.
Oh yeah.
Thank God. Especially the man who is so high, he sent me a picture of his dick with vibes captioned across it.
Truly a work of
Jesus
art.
Christ. Oh my
Rare
God.
and I can only dream to be such man.
Oh God.
Right?
Right? And like
what a God.
I think there's certain people. I think everyone should admit to this. You guys can admit to this. This is a safe space. That we're friends with certain people on social media just so we we're only friends with people on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, whatever, just so we can watch the dumpster fire, just so that we can like watch them just really be like. There is somebody. I'm not even going to use.
I'm gonna need to know names here. What are the names? I need to follow these people.
The names will come when we're not being recorded, and then the receipts will come
from Liam. This is all getting cut. You said.
Oh God.
No, but yeah.
I feel like I'm running through my mental Rolodex of people who I follow on Instagram, which is I think, which is the tool I would use the most for this. But I follow like I think 4,000 people on Instagram, so my feed is just an ocean of content, just constantly updating. I don't see shit. Like I don't see my friends getting married, them having a baby. No, none of that exists. It just gets washed away immediately.
Yeah.
Okay, buddy. You're gonna come at me for having my desktop Instagram and my phone Instagram open at the same time. But you follow so many people that you can just like.
Yeah, I screwed myself with this one. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. But it's interesting. There's so many interesting accounts to follow. That's the problem. I can never get enough.
This is true. I miss the days of like old Instagram and Dribble when it really was just about finding people that you really resonated with and like getting really passionate about what you created. I miss that so much. I miss finding an.
The thing is with Dribble, people want to go back
Let's
to
now
the
beautifully
original
segue
Dribble.
back into how to take that and put it into layers.
It's all right. This is still in the edit, but people go on about like, oh, I want the nice Dribble back. I want it when it was good. It's like it still had its fucking issues. You guys, it was just more
you
back
were
then.
right.
This was new to you. You were like, this is exciting.
Yeah.
I'm starting my design career. This is the only platform.
Yes,
you
have irrational nostalgia for it.
It's so good. You've got like 2 likes and no one's commenting on your shots. Oh, I love it. I have such good memories. Do you actually? If you went back 10 years ago, I suspect a lot of you people.
This is the real take. This is the real
Trust
take.
Trust me.
I was there. I saw the ball of Dribble. I was there. Well, I mean, okay, so the thing about Dribble was it was really good for a very select few. And that was it. And everyone saw it be really good, and they remember it being really good, and they remember maybe even experiencing part of that, but it wasn't great. And if we're still in the edit, are we still in the edit?
I don't know. We can cut this in. Oh well, now we're talking. The thing is, you talk about it, and we can't cut it in.
Well, no,
I think you guys remember the game?
It's fair to say, listen, we said some things that shouldn't have been said. We're gonna cut this out for the sake of our careers.
You have to have some sort of continuity, right?
I'm so sorry.
Your sense of continuity will be beautifully messed with by the light that's dying outside right now. It used to be daylight when we started this. Now it's night outside.
Oh, for fuck's sake! Stop. That's true. Oh, why is it just cut to Reijo? It is.
Just write a disclaimer.
Room.
Just cut to a disclaimer that says we found it really difficult to stay on topic, so I did cut some parts where we went off on a rant about perfectly normal and innocent things that we definitely didn't insult anyone.
Yeah, I like that excuse.
Sure. Okay, it's been 6 minutes, or 7 minutes since I made a note of the cut. So shall we? We can. To be honest, there's only a couple of things that I'm interested to address, and then we can kind of call it a day there because it's already been about it's almost 2 hours.
Let's try to get through it.
How the fuck do we start this?
Yeah, I think you might have to turn a light on where you're at, Reijo. You're starting to like get that computer screen glow.
Yeah, that yellow hue is way better.
Oh yeah. It's fucked either way.
It's even more obvious. It's fine. I I don't care. If anything, people will tweet with like, "Why did Reijo get darker?" Well, I don't know. Who knows?
Welcome to the Northern Hemisphere.
Welcome to episode number 5 of the official Layers podcast.
Yeah.
What? Okay, so do
All
you want to
right.
go back in? Is everyone ready?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
The thing is, I wish I knew where it like kind of ended, so I could kind of try a segue, but I will. Okay, so the other thing I kind of wanted to address was the curation of a front page. Like currently, Layers doesn't really have a front page. It's just like the Explore trending page, and I was hoping one day it would have like some sort of homepage. I always thought it could be a bit more customized, not just feeds, but designers, popular designers at the time, or new designers, yada yada yada. But I'm curious to hear of the dreaded algorithm. What is the best way to curate what you see on the front page? Is it simply based on likes, views? Is there some sort of human creation? What do you think is the best way to appease everyone, which is impossible? So that's why I'm asking you.
What if you had a mathematical handicap for people like golf? Back to golf. You guys love
Back to
golf,
golf.
remember?
Right.
Apparently.
What happens if they like people with a lot of followers had a handicap where they had to perform over a certain number in order to start trending? And where if people started doing, and then you ruin the follow for likes thing, right? Because your handicap will go up, and that would be an interesting way of tackling that. I don't know what the math would be.
Followers, right? It would have to be based on followers. So the more followers you have, the less the likes that you get mean.
Yeah.
Would that encourage people's? Would that encourage fake profiles being built so that they could, start fresh, no followers, get jetted to the front page?
Whatever they do, it's going to be an uphill battle for them every time, I think. Right? Like you can start from scratch, but
the other point is, you wanna reward good work and great work, and if it just so happens to be coming from the same people, it's like,
well, you're gonna stop talented people from posting?
Well,
yes,
like
banned.
I mean, there's certain designers that I've unfollowed because it doesn't matter if I'm following them or not. I'm going to see their work reposted about 30 times every time they drop something because they have like this. Yes, because I'm going to see it anyway. I'm going to see it so much. Like, I'm so tired of it. Why is that messed up?
I'm trying to think through it. Okay. I understand. Yeah, I understand. But it feels like
they don't follow me. It's not like I'm pulling a.
I understand. But then you're rewarding the people who didn't do the work, who just reposted it, and if even worse, if they're one of those who show the work and then hide the link in the replies, that's even worse. And then those people get rewarded.
Don't like that.
Oh God, I wrote.
Don't like that.
I wrote a whole thing on that, like how inspiration pages steal your work on Instagram, and so many of them. I'm not talking about inspiration pages. I'm talking about like the people who like have a cult following to like some design.
Genuinely,
genuine. Like, but they're like, oh my God, can't believe this new thing by so and so. Saying, oh my God, I can breathe again now that he's posted again and I can share this work. And then there's like 75 more of them sharing like the same work. And I'm just like, it's flooding my feed. And it's just like, okay, I got it. I see their work. Thank you. But I did post.
Are those reposts? How does that work? Are they just sharing the same art, the same design? And
not referencing
them? I don't use Instagram, sorry.
I'm talking about Twitter, Instagram, like Instagram, you can
Oh,
share
right.
posts to your stories.
Right.
Yeah, it just Um,
Okay.
but I ended up writing a thing about how the inspiration pages use your work and post tons of people's work constantly, bury their username, and then use that as kind of like a fake portfolio where it's like, look at all this inspiration, and then they bury the person who's writing it, who has made the artwork,
Yeah, it's
and then
scammy.
use their
Yeah.
artwork
It's
and
garbage.
it.
I think it's
I-
an algorithm play though, right? I think
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Twitter's algorithm for whatever will can
The
give you less reach if you put an external link.
I think there
So
are
it's like if Layers was to do it, Layers account
yeah.
would maybe grow, and Layers itself would grow. But at the same time, it's not necessarily that ethical, right? It's not as
Yeah.
good as just
At what
sourcing
cost?
them immediately. Yeah.
Like
I think there are what we call inspiration pages. I think there are genuine examples of people starting like almost like a public collection of bookmarks. You know, they just wanted to start a page where they through which they share things that only they find cool, which is, I think, an interesting and could be a very useful tool for tastemaking, I think. But most likely that's not the case in generally. It's a way to find leverage on creators, on selling them a spot in the posting. Like, hey, we now have, let's say, 10,000 followers. We want to sell you like $20. Give me $20. I'll post you next. Stuff like that, I think.
yeah, and what a lot of times they do is they would end up doing posts for free for design celebs, artists, and things like
Yeah.
that. So it looked like they were paying for it, or it would just be that was the
Legitimizing
good
it.
stuff, That was the good stuff that would get the clients in, and it's so frustrating because so many of these problems originate from outside of this community. Like, I mean, well, within, but it's things that are going to be forever outside of your control. And how are you going to ever find that balance of building a product that achieves what you want, which is design community, right?
Liam just wants to make it to sell it off to the VCs.
I'm just
There's
here
no
for the
design
money.
community
I just
involved
want
here.
I just want a massive exit.
Right?
No, I think community in general, though, you have to learn to have quite a thick skin, because whatever you do is obviously going to be controversial.
Yeah.
And you're going to have haters, and you're going to have people that are on board. But yeah, I'm slowly learning that one, and I think it's only going to get worse or better, whatever your perspective.
No, I think it will get worse, but I think you will get better at dealing with it.
Yes,
Which I don't know
if
I don't know if that's like if there's any solace to be found in that, but I don't think this is a business that somebody who's ultra sensitive can stay in for a long time. I think design in general, I think, is such.
Yeah,
we shall see. If it correlates with money, that might help.
That might help, right? That might help.
But yeah, I don't envy people who run and try and maintain or manage communities. It's a
It's a thankless job.
It's well, no, it's just more it's a controversial in every sense on almost every topic, on almost every change you make. Even no matter how long the team has thought about it, like for the users, for the members, it's just an instant change. It's it's tough. I'm curious to see what the changes will be to Layers that'll be so controversial. It's like, oh, we thought about this for months and we thought it was a great idea.
Well, I think
you've just ruined our lives. What?
I think the case with Layers, I think, is a little bit more a little less constrained, because you've come out the gate with already like restricting gamifying behaviors that work on other platforms. Like you took away the likes, you took away the following. This is a topic that you're actively investigating and trying to make better all the time to avoid the same pitfalls that other platforms have made. And I think that gives you a bit more leeway in sort of rolling out features that could be in other instances called controversial, but they would make sense in layers, because layers has its sort of groundwork in a different place than, like, let's say Dribble or Behance or Instagram for
Yeah,
the worst.
I think honestly, right now it's very easy and safe because it's just me. But as soon as you have a team, as soon as you have employees, it becomes very difficult.
As soon as there's somebody else doubting you or making you doubt yourself, then where it goes downhill.
Not even that, but having people that are responsible for a salary month to month. They have families. You have 20, 30 people on the payroll.
Yeah.
It starts to become
Yeah.
how do you value the community compared to the actual company, for example? Like, you want to obviously retain everyone and you want to please the community as well. It's like,
and be a net positive.
That's why I want to try and keep the team as small as possible and give the community ownership, basically. So it's like, it's partly on the community.
Okay, not to sound like a complete socialist here, right? Okay, I realize that we've crossed that threshold. What would it look like to set up a community that's outside of capitalism? Say we live in a perfect utopian state where it's just a constant exchange of goods and services based on how people present their needs, and we focus more on the ethics and the reasoning of why we build products and why we provide services. You know, why are we doing this thing? Like, what does a platform like that even begin to look like? I mean, like, you could say, well, there goes your design inquiries, but I'm talking about people being like, I'm starting a fish business and I would like packaging.
Well, in capitalism, it relies on donations to actually run. It's like Wikipedia, right?
That's fair.
I'm talking about building this platform in a world that doesn't have some.
I mean, it's a world that we don't know about and can't comprehend, so I will not have an opinion.
I would say the same, I think.
The current system is the best one we have at the moment. Otherwise, it would be another system.
Yeah, I agree.
Think about it, like you're designing for ethics. There's no more reason to design for money, right? Say if you don't have money in the system, right? You're designing for purpose. So if someone comes to you and is like, I want to build a platform that helps.
When you take money out, at least
your mic.
Yeah, you sound a little like, I understand fully what you say. There's nothing, but there's a little bit of gargling.
Yeah, you need to move your mic or something.
Mike, hello. I don't
You
know.
sound like a robot, and I'm suspecting you are one.
I am AI.
Okay, so but to answer your question, if
you need a new system.
If you take the money out of it, then I'm not gonna do anything else. I'm not gonna do anything for anybody else. I'm just gonna do the things I want.
That's a good point. 100%. I respect that. Well, I'm trying to basically do is remove a lot of the problem. You can't really do that, because then you change the absolute nature of the system.
And I think on that note,
beautiful.
Thank you very much for listening. That is episode 5 of Overlay.
Yes.
If you have any questions or feedback for us here on Overlay, then please send us an email to overlay@layers.to. Please do. Overlay is now available on every podcasting, streaming app, service, whatever. So if you want to subscribe or like or review, that would be incredibly helpful for all of us.
Yes.
And I am Liam P. McCabe on X.
I'm Reijo Wrights on X.
And I'm Dharma Creatives on X, Twitter, whatever it is now, Instagram.
Nice.
All that. You can follow me
Thanks so
there.
much.
Or you can follow someone else.
All
Sweet.
right.
Right.
Ciao.
Take care.